On the ancient plains of Moab, where the whispers of the wind carry tales of kings and prophets, a request is echoing through the corridors of power. King Balak, king of the Moabites, cast a worried gaze upon the horizon. His heart is heavy with apprehension as the multitude of Israelites, like an approaching storm, amassed on his borders. Fearful of an impending invasion, Balak seeks an enigmatic figure, a seer named Balaam, whose words were said to possess the power to shape destiny. Little did Balak know that this meeting would unravel a saga of divine intervention, a talking donkey, and an unexpected blessing that would resonate through the ages. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt for over 200 years. After many years, Moses, a former Egyptian prince who was in reality a Hebrew, returns to bring a message to Pharaoh from Yahweh: "Let my people go." After God brings 12 plagues upon the Egyptians, the Israelites find themselves in the desert, heading for the Promised Land. But because of their lack of faith, God sends them into the desert for 40 years, until a whole generation, short of Moses, Joshua, and Caleb, have died. And the time is now for the Israelites to take possession of the land that was promised to their ancestor Abraham. Now, after being denied passage to the land of the Amorites, the Israelites prepared for battle with the king Sihon of the Amorites. In a fierce engagement known as the Battle of Jahaz, the Israelites emerged victorious. They seized the city of Heshbon, a key Amorite city. They then move into the area of Bashan that is ruled by a giant, a king named Og. The Israelites are victorious over Og, and the lands will ultimately be given to 3 of the Israelite tribes: Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. With Moab being on the border of the Amorites, it is understandable that Balak, king of the Moabites, would be concerned about these former Egyptian slaves that have now defeated his mighty neighbors. In the book of Numbers, chapter 22, we read, "And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was in great dread of the people because they were many. Moab was overcome with fear of the people of Israel." The Moabites were a nation whose forefather and namesake was Moab, the son of Lot, Abraham's nephew, who was born to Lot's oldest daughter, born out of an incestuous relationship with her father. We will see later in the Old Testament that Ruth, who was a Moabite, becomes the great-grandmother of King David. In his fear, Balak, like the Amorites, denies the Israelites peaceful passage through his lands. Balak decides to take a drastic measure. He seeks the help of Balaam, a renowned diviner and prophet, with the hopes that Balaam's ability to curse would give Balak an advantage over the advancing Israelites. Now, who is this character, this prophet Balaam? Well, Balaam is no ordinary prophet. He's known for his powerful pronouncements and his ability to see into the future. But here's the thing. He's not exactly a squeaky clean character. He has a reputation for being greedy and willing to use his gifts for personal gain. Balaam was a wicked prophet of God. Yet, he was not a false prophet. Balaam did hear from Yahweh, and his prophecies that came from God were true. But Balaam's heart was wicked and not right with God. And like many people who seem to be one way, but in truth are another, his true colors ultimately come out. Balak puts his plan into action by sending messengers to Balaam with a tempting offer of great rewards if he would come and curse the Israelites. Now Balaam is very tempted by the promise of wealth and prestige. He knows what he should do, but instead of turning down the possibility of fortune and fame, he decides to first consult with Yahweh. Balaam asks the messengers to stay the night so he can consult with God. That night, Yahweh comes to Balaam and tells him that he must not go with these men to curse the Israelites. The next morning, Balaam delivers the bad news to Balak's messengers, and dejected, they return to give Balak the message from Balaam. But Balak is undeterred and sends even more prestigious messengers and more promises of wealth to convince Balaam to come and curse the Israelites. In verse 16 of Numbers 22, we read, "And they came to Balaam and said to him, Thus says Balak the son of Zippor, Let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will surely do you great honor, and whatever you say to me I will do. Come, curse this people for me." But Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, "Though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the command of the Lord my God to do less or more." Balaam's answer seems noble and righteous, for he says that he will not do anything that Yahweh does not tell him to do, even if Balak gives him a palace full of silver and gold. And that should have been the end of it. But Balaam, greedy for the fortune and fame, again asked the men to stay the night. Like any child who is told no and yet continues to ask, Balaam again seeks God's advice, and God answers him. God tells Balaam that he can go with these men, but must only do what Yahweh tells him to do. So Balaam wakes up in the morning, puts a saddle on his donkey, and sets out towards Moab. Now Balaam and two of his servants are on their way to Moab when we find that God's anger is kindled against Balaam. So God sends an angel to stand in the way of Balaam. Now Balaam and his servants cannot see the angel, but the donkey that Balaam is riding can see the heavenly being who is blocking the road ahead. The donkey does what comes naturally to a scared donkey and turns and runs into a field with Balaam bouncing on his back. Now imagine the anger and frustration that Balaam is feeling. He is so angry that he lashes out at the donkey and begins to beat the poor animal. What Balaam does not know is that the angel has now moved and is standing in the path between two walls of the vineyard that the donkey has attempted to flee to. The donkey looks up and sees the angel again and leans against the wall, and in the process, he crushes Balaam's foot. Again, Balaam is enraged and strikes the poor donkey to get her back on the road. But the angel has moved once again and gets in the way so that there is no way for Balaam and the donkey to pass. So the donkey just lays down with Balaam still on its back. Balaam's anger is at such a point that he begins to beat the donkey with his staff. As Balaam is venting his anger on the poor donkey, Yahweh opens the mouth of the donkey and allows it to speak. Yes, the donkey speaks to Balaam. It says to Balaam, "What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times? Now, I don't know about you, but I think I would be speechless at that point. But Balaam just talks to the donkey like it was no big deal. He says, "Because you have made a fool of me, I wish I had a sword in my hand, for then I would kill you." The donkey replies to Balaam's accusation, "Am I not your donkey, on which you have ridden all your life long to this day? Is it my habit to treat you this way?" Well, of course not. Balaam's donkey had been a good donkey. Realization dawns and Balaam's eyes are opened. He sees the angel with a sword drawn, ready to strike him down. In fear, Balaam falls to the ground, and the angel inquires as to why Balaam was treating this poor animal so harshly. The angel informs Balaam that he was sent to kill Balaam because what he was heading to do was perverse in God's sight. And if the donkey had not turned away and gone into the field, Balaam would find himself lying in his own blood along the road. Now Balaam repents, and Yahweh desires that he continues to go to Balak, but Balaam must only say what Yahweh tells him to say. Now eventually, Balaam reaches Moab and meets with Balak. Despite his earlier reservations, Balaam agrees to pronounce a curse on the Israelites. But here's the twist. When Balaam opens his mouth, something strange happens. Instead of curses, blessings flow out. He declares that the Israelites are a mighty nation, blessed by God and destined for greatness. Balak, needless to say, is not happy. He throws a tantrum, accusing Balaam of betraying him, but Balaam insists that he can't control what he says. The words come from God, and he's powerless to resist them. Balak, still desperate, takes Balaam to 2 more mountaintops, hoping to get a different outcome. But each time, the same thing happens. Balaam, unable to disobey God, pronounces blessings upon the Israelites, predicting their future victories and prosperity. King Balak, his face thunderous, explodes in fury. "Now leave at once and go home," he bellows, his voice echoing across the valley. "I said I would reward you handsomely, but the Lord has kept you from being rewarded." Balaam, ever the dutiful prophet, calmly reminds the king, "Did I not tell you from the very beginning that I can only say what the Lord commanded me to say?" His words, hanging heavy in the air, are a stark reminder of the power of God that is beyond human control. Balaam's story doesn't end there. As he turns to leave, a remarkable thing happens. He offers the king 4 more prophecies for free as a final act of service. In the 4th of these pronouncements, Balaam's voice rings with a prophetic vision, foretelling the coming of the Messiah. A star will come out of Jacob. A scepter will rise out of Israel. He will crush the foreheads of Moab, the skulls of all the people of Sheth. With this final prophecy, Balaam's mission is complete. He departs, leaving behind not curses, but 7 powerful blessings bestowed upon God's chosen people. It is a testament to the unwavering nature of the divine purpose of God, a reminder that God's blessings reach far beyond human desires and human wills. If we were to stop right here, we could assume that Balaam was a great prophet and a man of God. But remember, I said that Balaam was not a false prophet, but a wicked one. Balaam will again find himself helping Balak to attempt to weaken the Israelites. Realizing that a direct curse would be futile, Balaam suggests that Balak use the Moabite women to seduce the Israelite men into idolatry and immorality, a tactic that would bring about divine judgment. Balak takes Balaam's advice, causing Yahweh's anger to burn against Israel, and a plague falls on the people to the point that 24,000 Israelites die. We are told in Joshua 13:22 that Balaam ultimately was killed with the sword by the people of Israel. The final place that we see Balaam mentioned is in the book of Revelation. In Jesus' warning to the church at Thyatira, he says that there are some in that church who hold to the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the sons of Israel, so that they might eat food sacrificed to idols and practice sexual immorality. A very astute warning, not just to the church at Thyatira, but a warning to all of us today. Balaam, you see, faced a crossroads, a fork in the dusty road of life. Temptation whispered in his ear, promising power beyond mortal dreams. Yet, beneath the vast expanse of the heavens, Balaam missed a truth that still rustles the leaves of the eternal tree of our lives. This truth unfolds not in the cunning art of manipulating the will of the divine, but in the sacred act of surrendering to the will of Yahweh, the Almighty. Balaam's failure teaches us that true riches and power lay in humble submission to God's will. My hope is that this tale would be a lantern guiding us through the corridors of time. It's a tale that echoes across the millennia, a soft murmur carried by the winds of history, whispering of humility and faith. Ponder the enduring strength of those who walk in the light of the Almighty. For Balaam's journey is not just a chapter in the annals of old, but a flame that dances in our hearts, a reminder of the timeless wisdom etched in the stars above. And so, my friends, let the eternal truths of this tale seep into your bones, and may you carry its message of surrender, faith, and enduring strength of those who tread the path illuminated by the divine light of Christ. If you enjoyed this wild ride with Balaam and his donkey, press the like button. and subscribe to our channel so you can enjoy future enlightening stories. And finally, I'd love to know your thoughts about this story and any other stories in the Bible you'd like to hear about. Thanks for listening and watching, and until next time.